Hello and welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted once again to have Dean Sutherland back on the channel, this time following his successful Celtic title victory. Dean, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We will start with that victory. I spoke to you myself in the build-up to the Sione Yaxley fight. You were highly confident you were going to beat him. You got a brilliant stoppage. What did you make of your performance and the fight on the night?
My performance was definitely a performance of two halves. Basically, the first couple of rounds I boxed really, really well. Stuck to the tactics. Thought everything was going really, really well. Then I think it didn't help that I hurt him, like badly hurt him in the first round, and I kind of went into the mindset of I could hurt him whenever I wanted to. Basically, I was trying to load up too much. Sean boxed really, really well, a lot better than what I expected him to be, and he stuck to a good tactics, letting his hands go, and it was basically just I was trying to go first, and he was catching me with a bit of flurry on the way out, and he was picking up the middle round. And when it came down to the stoppage in round 9, that I knew I was behind on the cards anyway. I knew that I only had the 2 rounds to get rid of him. That I wasn't going to get it by the judge's decision. Got a wee bit of a rocket put up my backside the end of the 8th round, and went out and did what I had to do to get the victory. And it was in a stunning fashion. But it just goes to show, like, when I relax and just let my hands go, that can happen to anybody.
That leads me perfectly on to the next question I was going to ask anyway. Of you haven't had too many stoppages so far in your career. Do you
Mhm.
think these more stoppages will come as you let your hands go, or do you think it's a case is as you step up in levels of opposition, that's where you'll begin to find the stoppages?
I definitely think that is part of it. Once I have a 50-50 opponent that's willing to come and square go with me, then the opportunity will open up for myself. But I also think that previously I've been too, like, willing to go and stand and trade and just wanting to have an absolute tear up where, yeah, I can dig, but when I'm trying to force these punches, it's not having the same desired effect. But as soon as I relax and let my hands go, the speed kills them as well as the power. The combination of the two of them. And yeah, I don't have too many stoppages, but when you obviously look at the start of my career, that I fought some very, very good journeymen that don't get stopped at the end of the day. But then been getting more and more as I've been going through the professional, the more rounds that I'm going, the better quality of guys, the more stoppages that you're seeing in my career. Uh, but it's not something that I'm going out there to try and blitz somebody away in a certain amount of rounds or anything. I just know that I've got the power. I think anybody that's been in sparring with me, or even like my coaches holding the pad, everybody can tell that I've got power. I just need to find that relaxed moment to let my hands go, and let them go freely instead of loading up too much.
Rahul Singh next, of India. Again, there's not too much on Rahul. How did this fight come about, and how do you sort of prepare yourself for a fighter where there isn't necessarily too much detail on them?
Well, this kind of came about because obviously I'm trying to wait and see what's happening with the British title situation with Louis Green and Gilly. That was, I think it was originally supposed to happen in June. So
Mhm.
I would have been ideally hoping to fight one of them before the end of the year. Then I think it was, I'm only hearing this is rumours, but I think that Gilly got injured and then it's been pushed back, and now Sky's not taking the fight now. So it's a weird situation. So the last thing that I wanted to do was just sit on the sidelines, waiting, twiddling my fingers to see what's happening with this fight, and it could be 6 months out my career, could be 9 months, could be a year out before I even get a sniff at it, of any opportunity. So I thought to myself, let's keep myself as active as possible. I've changed trainers and changed gyms back up to Scotland. So this fight's kind of perfect, where it's a game opponent, somebody that's coming to win, somebody who's got ambition, but it's not a massive, big 50-50 sort of fight that this is got to be the first time working with this coach and this team. I'm kind of wanting little bit of a break-in period. I've got this fight, and then I've got a big one to be announced straight after this one, obviously coming through successfully. And then 2025 is really where I really take over. I think that's a big thing for myself.
So without trying to, obviously, I know you're saying you're waiting on the big news announcement sort of thing. Is it a case of the British title fight is what we'll be looking at for Dean Sutherland until that becomes available, whether it's a Louis Green rematch, which would obviously be the ideal scenario for yourself. It's a case of keep busy, keep active, keep in the gym, get these sort of, as you say, keep busy fights, and then prepare yourself for that big British title night.
Yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like if a really good big opportunity came up in the meantime, then that would take precedence over it. But one of the big things that I got into professional boxing for was to pick up that Lonsdale belt. So if it's in touching distance and I'm this close, and even better, so that there's a bit of history with me and Louis Green, I would love to avenge that. Obviously, if he comes through victorious, but either way, it's the Commonwealth and the British title that would be fought for against good quality guys, and it would be a good, entertaining fight, and one that would be hopefully picked up by a big TV promotion as well, which is exactly what I need to get my foot in the door. And picking up that belts at the end of the day is exactly what I got into professional boxing for. But in the meantime, it's working with this new trainer, getting everything down sorted. Things are going really well. I've had to change location again. I'm just try to find my feet and not just jumping into opportunities. I'm still young. Turned 26 later on this year. So I've still got plenty of time in this boxing game. I'm not jumping any opportunity just for the sake of it because it suits somebody else or the payday is bigger than what I've had so far. I've got ambitions in the sport, and I'm very driven to achieve them.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, the way we've seen Louis Green demolish Jack McGann, I think if he becomes victorious as the British champ, I'm pretty sure, I would actually say certain that British title fight with yourself would be on a big TV production. Going to move on to something a bit different. Someone's now moves into sort of your division. He's one of the bigger names in the sport at present. Terence Crawford made the step up, beating Israel Madrimov. How far do you think Terence Crawford can go at the weight? Because Terence Crawford wasn't the biggest at 147.
No.
He stepped up again. I did honestly think size matters. This might even be past his limit. You know, looked at him on the scales, looked at him in the face off. Madrimov looked massive compared to him. Do
Mhm.
you think he can beat everyone at 154? Or do you think there's a limit for Crawford because of basically what I said there in terms of size?
Yeah. Well, if you'd asked me that question 4 or 5 years ago, I think 154 would have been the stopping point for Crawford. But Crawford's just went up to 154 and beat the best world champion that there is at 154. And when you really look at the other names round about it, I don't really see anybody that beats him at 154. I think it's a complete different situation if he goes up to 160, then it becomes far too small. I know they're obviously talking about the Canelo at 168. That's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen in the first place, but I wouldn't like to see it happen. Terence Crawford's a quality fighter that I think even going up to 160, there's some really good middleweights that their size would also take precedence over his skill set. They would be able to smother a lot more of his work. Madrimov boxed really well. I thought it was a really close fight. I had to watch it back a couple of times. I had Madrimov the first time winning, the second time I thought it was a draw, the third time I thought Crawford won. So it just goes to show that it was a really tight, close fight. But yeah, I do think realistically 154 should be and would be a good stopping point for Terence Crawford. But when it comes down to it, he's getting older. He's two-time undisputed champion at his weight. It's hard to really say anything against him because really he kind of calls whatever shots that he wants to, and fair play to him. He's
Absolutely.
got enough credentials and that for it that if he wants to do 160 or 168 and the money's right for him, because that's what he'll be looking for at the end of the day, is a big payday towards the end. think he should be allowed to do it. Would I want him to do it though? No, it's a different circumstance. It's a different situation to it. But yeah, I think 154. I think I know he's not like a massive 154, but boxing IQ and the talent pool at 154 for him at that world title level, I think he could wipe the plate and be a 3-time undisputed. Really.
Yeah, I think can't argue with pretty much anything you've said there. I think, like you say, weight classes are there for a reason. We seen
Mm.
Canelo when he stepped up with Bivol, and Bivol was just too big.
Yeah.
There comes a point where, like you say, if you put Crawford in with 168ers, although he may be naturally a better boxer, size does play a massive factor. Final one from me. It's the biggest fight in the sport at present that's available. AJ Dubois. It's
Hmm.
that whole card. It's become such a huge individual fight, such a huge
Yeah.
card because of obviously with the Saudis. How do you see that fight? I've asked this question to so many people, and I've seen it's either one of two ways that I've seen so far. Hopefully,
Hmm.
you're one of the two, or you may be split in the middle. It's
Yeah. Well.
Dubois too easy to hit,
Mhm.
and AJ is going to spark him out inside 4 rounds, or underestimate Daniel Dubois at your peril. Where do you sit with this fight, Dean?
I think it's not going to be a 4 round, like a 3 or 4 round job. I think AJ stops him between 8 and 10. I think very much like you were saying. I think Dubois is too easy to be hit. I think he will be hit multiple times with good, clean, long jabs. I think that'll be one big thing that'll take its toll on Dubois. Uh, Joshua's hitting to the body a lot just now and is very, very effective at doing it. That will take its toll. I think Dubois is really, really riding high on confidence. And he's got young, he's athletic, he's got a fantastic team round about him. He's almost had like a second lease of life basically since it's changed. But I just think if you'd asked me against going back, if you'd asked me what it would have been a couple of years ago, then it probably would have been the same sort of situation because Daniel hadn't really developed and found himself, but AJ had lost his confidence from the Usyk side of things. Uh, so I still think Anthony Joshua does it, but I think probably like 8 to 10, maybe a little bit later. I would I would like to see Daniel to see the final bell, but I can't see anything but an Anthony Joshua win.
Yeah, I think I have to agree myself. I was a little bit earlier. I sort of said round 5, round 6, but it's
Mm.
always good to hear from someone who steps inside the ring to see how they view the fights and each of the fighters in that scenario. Dean, been an absolute pleasure having you back on the channel. Good luck for your next fight. Hopefully we can see you fighting for that British title. Not necessarily the end of the year. Time may be running out for that, but hopefully it will be at the latest the start of next year. Once again, Dean, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me on, Owen, and really appreciate you reaching out, my man.